Okay, so we spend so much time figuring out how to make good habits satisfying.
Right, the positive reinforcement.
But what about the negative ones? To actually stop a bad habit, you have to invert that principle completely. You have to make it immediately painful or just deeply unsatisfying.
And not just eventually painful. That's the real trap, isn't it?
Exactly.
And what's so wild here is how universal this problem is. Relying on some eventual abstract pain, it just doesn't work for us. There was this guy, Roger Fisher, founder of the Harvard Negotiation Project. He came up with probably the most extreme thought experiment on this during the whole nuclear threat era.
Oh, this example is intense. It really, it just perfectly illustrates the power of an immediate cost. So Fisher suggested, this was back in 1981, that to stop a president from, impulsively launching nuclear weapons, the launch code should be in a tiny capsule.
Right. And implanted right next to a volunteer's heart.
A volunteer who would literally be with the president all the time.
Always. And the protocol was, well, it was brutal. If the president wanted to launch, he first had to take this big butcher knife.
Which was always just there.
Always there. And he would have to personally kill that innocent person to get the codes.
You'd have to do it himself. Literally, blood on the White House carpet, like Fisher said, to look death in the face before pushing the button.
And the genius of it wasn't the logistics, it was the psychology. The real aha moment came from the Pentagon's reaction to it.
Right, they didn't say it was impossible.
No, not at all. They said, my God, that's terrible. Having to kill someone would distort the president's judgment.
You might never push the button.
Exactly. They were worried that this immediate, visceral, concrete act of murder would completely overwhelm the abstract consequence of a nuclear war thousands of miles away.
And that proves the whole point.
It proves the entire point. Immediate, concrete pain just works in a way that abstract, delayed consequences never will.
That is the core idea, the fundamental inversion of how we build habits. Just as satisfaction makes us repeat something, making it immediately agonizing. That drives total avoidance.
So this brings us to the big question, right? Why do we even need these extreme measures? I mean, shouldn't knowing that smoking causes cancer be enough? Shouldn't knowing that procrastination is going to hurt your career, be enough to make you stop?
It seems like it should, but it so clearly isn't.
Well, the difficulty is that bad habits always serve us somehow in the moment. They give us comfort, a little dopamine hit, some kind of temporary relief. And the real costs, poor health, financial trouble, missed opportunities, they're almost always delayed. They're vague, intangible.
When you decide to scroll on your phone today, the consequence isn't today. It's 6 months from now when your project is late or you just feel less focused. The brain just pushes that fuzzy thread away.
It does, and that's really the essence of it. If a failure is relatively painless in the moment, we just ignore it.
We just accept it.
Yeah.
But if that failure has an immediate painful cost, we learn from it instantly.
Think about professions where people have to learn fast. Where do they master their skills? It's where mistakes are costly and immediate.
Like a surgeon.
A surgeon, exactly. You have to master anatomy because if you cut the wrong blood vessel, the failure is severe and it is instant. A pilot has to know those procedures because ignoring a warning light has catastrophic, immediate consequences.
We'll do almost anything to avoid a little bit of immediate pain. Like paying a bill on time just to avoid a small late fee, even if that fee is nothing compared to our monthly budget.
Right. So the practical takeaway for you listening to this is you have to find a way to engineer an instant cost for your bad habits.
There can be absolutely no gap, no daylight between the action and the consequence.
And for that consequence to really work, it needs to have 4 components. It has to be local, meaning it affects you directly, not some abstract concept.
Okay, look.
It needs to be tangible, a real physical or financial loss, not just a vague feeling of guilt.
Tangible, right.
And concrete, a specific, clearly defined penalty. And most importantly, it has to be immediate, right after you slip up.
Local, tangible, concrete, and immediate. That sounds like we're basically creating our own private laws, complete with punishments.
That's a perfect way to put it.
And that brings us to this idea of a formal habit contract.
Precisely. A habit contract is just a way to formalize that instant cost. It can be a verbal or even a written agreement where you state your commitment to a habit, say, no sugar on weekdays, and then you spell out the punishment if you fail.
And the crucial part is you need someone else involved.
Yes, you need 1 or 2 accountability partners to sign off on it with you.
It really is like a personal version of a social contract. We see how powerful this is with public policy, right? Take seatbelts.
Oh, that's a great example.
Back in 1984, before the laws, something like only 14% of people wore one. The consequence of not wearing one, getting hurt in a crash, was always there, but it was distant. It was a maybe.
But once the law changed and the punishment became immediate and enforceable by the group, by the police usage shot up, now it's over 88%.
The law didn't make the car crash worse. It just created an immediate group-enforced punishment.
And a habit contract just miniaturizes that same social pressure.
And there's this fantastic, really detailed example of an entrepreneur who just nailed this. Brian Harris from Nashville. He wanted to get in shape after his son was born. The goal was 200 pounds, 10% body fat. He knew the usual approach wouldn't work for him.
So he didn't just tell himself he'd do better, he created a formal contract.
With his wife and his personal trainer.
Yeah.
And the daily habits were super specific. Weigh himself every day and log all his food. No exceptions.
He understood that to succeed, he had to make the failure of those tiny daily habits acutely painful.
And the punishments he came up with were just ruthless. They attacked his comfort and his wallet. So if he failed to log his food, even one day, two things happened. First, he had to dress up every single workday and Sunday for the rest of that quarter.
So no jeans, no t-shirts, no hoodies.
None of it. Just that immediate loss of comfort. But that wasn't all.
No, he went further. He also agreed to give his personal trainer a $200 fine.
Wait, a $200 fine for missing one day of food logging?
One day. It's that immediate, tangible financial pain. He's not penalized 3 months later when he hasn't lost weight. He's penalized today for failing to do the small thing.
That's so intense. A lot of people would just quit.
And that's the point. It has to be intense enough to match the pull of the bad habit. And then for the next quarter, they actually escalated the consequences.
This is where it gets really clever and personal. His most painful consequence was tied to his identity. If he missed his sprints, a key workout, he had to wear an Alabama Crimson Tide hat for the rest of the quarter.
And you have to know the context there. Harris is a diehard fan of Auburn University,
Alabama's biggest, most bitter rival.
forcing him to publicly endorse the enemy team every single day. That was way more painful to him than another $200 fine.
It's an attack on his pride, his social identity. It's the ultimate combination of local, tangible, concrete, and immediate.
And he said something really crucial about it. The moment he actually signed the contract was the moment he got serious. Anytime he skipped that formal step, he started slacking off almost immediately.
Because the signing, with his wife and trainer, it turned a private wish into a public promise, backed by a real cost. It created leverage.
Now, you don't always need a formal contract and a rival team's hat to use this.
Right.
Just having an accountability partner can be hugely effective on its own.
And why is that? Why does just telling someone work so well?
Well, it taps into a really deep human drive. We're all always trying to present our best selves to the world. You know, we comb our hair, we try to get good grades, we want to impress people, we care what others think because social acceptance is just critical for us.
So an accountability partner immediately makes a private failure like skipping the gym a social one.
Exactly. You're not just letting yourself down, you're breaking a promise to someone else. And that triggers an immediate social cost. The risk of being seen as unreliable or lazy.
That social discomfort is a really powerful motivator.
You see it in creative fields a lot. The comedian Margaret Cho, she did this song-a-day challenge with a friend. Just knowing someone else is expecting to see your work, that's often more powerful than your own internal guilt.
And you can even automate this. You can remove the need for a friend to even check up on you. Thomas Frank, an entrepreneur, he did this to make sure he woke up early. His goal was 5:55 a.m.
Okay.
If he misses it, he has a tweet automatically scheduled to go out at 6:10 a.m.
And what does the tweet say?
It says, "It's 6:10 and I'm not up because I'm lazy."
How?
And to add to the pain, it offers $5 via PayPal to the first 5 people who reply.
So that's public shaming and a financial loss at the same time.
Instantly. The evidence of his failure, plus the penalty, is broadcast to the world within minutes. He basically outsourced his self-control to the internet.
Which perfectly illustrates the whole principle. The strength of the punishment has to match the strength of the behavior you're trying to correct.
You have to make the cost of procrastination greater than the cost of action.
Exactly.
So whether it's a huge formal contract like Brian Harris's or an automated public tweet, the main lesson here is pretty clear. If you want to break a habit, its consequences have to be local, tangible, concrete, and immediate. You have to close the gap between the behavior and the pain.
Yeah, we spend all this energy optimizing positive reinforcement for good habits, but we forget the counterweight. You have to just as actively engineer immediate dissatisfaction for the bad ones.
You just can't rely on some vague future consequence to overcome a powerful immediate craving. It doesn't work.
It doesn't, which raises a really interesting question for you to think about. If all these laws and social contracts work by leveraging our deep desire to avoid public disapproval, how much of your own positive behavior is really driven by that external expectation rather than pure internal conviction?
Hmm, that's a good question.
And for that one habit you really want to break, who is the one person in your life whose diminished opinion of you would be painful enough, local enough, and immediate enough to actually force you to change? Just think about the leverage of that real personal social cost.